Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another review. Now, Habit Rouge. Habit Rouge is one of my absolute favorite fragrances. Habit Rouge EDT. And like many others, many men across the world, one of my most significant developments in understanding fragrances came with Habit Rouge. And many people will say this to you. People who have been in this game for more than 20 years, even lesser or even more, always praise Habit Rouge. Habit Rouge is an experience. It's the only fragrance which I've reviewed twice, EDT. And recently I reviewed the second one. The second review of EDT was done in May, about 6 months ago, and I gave it a 10 out of 10 without looking at my old review. I've also done a comparison between the EDT and the EDP. And in my opinion, at that time, it was too vanilla centric. And I was also doing the review in July, if I'm not wrong, midsummer. And the EDP did not impress me. Okay, so I have a decant, I've had a decant. So recently I've started, I just went and sprayed a few from this decant. I quite enjoyed it. And I thought I'll do a full review because I think the only way to give any credence to any of the Habit Rouge flankers would be to do a separate review rather than spray EDT and then do a comparison, which is what I did. And EDT just takes over. It's such a beautiful fragrance that you have to do a separate review for all the flankers, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to review quite a few flankers. So let me start. I've got to dry down. I've had this on my shirt and on my wrist all day. I've also got to dry down on a strip of blotter. So I'll do a fresh spray and let's start. So Habit Rouge EDP, and this is from the old bottles. This was sent to me by Rohit. I don't know why Rohit doesn't come to my channel anymore. I haven't seen him for ages. He used to send me loads of samples. So he sent me the sample back in 2018, 19, 18 I think. And it was from those Listerine bottles. The bottle design in EDP has changed now. And it is those new square bottles. I haven't tried that. So I wouldn't be able to tell you whether that's got a significant change or not. But here is the EDP full review. The moment you spray it, you can see that it's a vanilla-based fragrance. Vanilla is very strong here, and it's got a nutty smell to it, nutty texture. And that vanilla is mixed with lemon, bergamot, and rose. So lemony, rosy vanilla. Very interesting. It doesn't, apart from that, and there's a little texture, little feel of leather. And that, without knowing Habit Rouge EDT, you wouldn't know that this is basically a flanker to one of the greatest fragrances ever made. There's nothing great about it at this moment. If you know the EDT, you'll see that what's been done here, before I get into all that. So the Parfumeur, this came out in 2003, and the Parfumeur is Jean-Paul Guerlain. It is one of his later works, because I think he retired after 2004. Or by 2004. So this is one of his later works, and what he's done here is he's bringing out the notes which are subdued in EDT. So vanilla is a subdued note, and it's a prominent note in Shalimar. As most of you would know that Habit Rouge is considered a male version of Shalimar, and you can see here that spongy, soft, lemony vanilla with nutty character and patchouli and rose. So it's basically a very different scent, very oriental, very oriental. In about 5 minutes, this becomes even more oriental. It brings in a sort of a crayon-like waxy patchouli. It becomes stronger, and patchouli overtakes the vanilla, and it becomes a patchouli-forward fragrance in the middle stages. So the things that are amped up are patchouli, vanilla, rose, and lemon. Things that are subdued are leather and carnation and lily of the valley from the EDT. So it smells more like a gourmand oriental sort of a woody fragrance, if you see what I mean. And that middle stage reminds me of a fragrance which is incredibly sort of surprising. You know, I've got this fragrance in my collection which I haven't reviewed. I really rate it very highly. It is Vanille Patchouli by Molinard. This fragrance is absolutely incredible. I have to review this fragrance because it uses one of the most magical combinations in perfumery, vanilla and patchouli. The right kind of vanilla, right kind of patchouli can create magic. It's been used in so many fragrances. This is what it's doing here. But what I don't like about the vanilla here at this stage, at the middle stage, is it's pretty waxy. I don't know whether that's the vanilla or the patchouli, but it's very waxy, almost like a crayon, almost like smelling a crayon. And I don't like that because it reminds me of the cheap vanilla candles. When the fragrance dries down, all these notes create a beautiful harmonious symphony and comes to the picture a little supple leather, almost like new leather. So here, basically Jean-Paul Guerlain is saying EDT was all about hunting jackets, but this is so beautifully choreographed. It's more like a dressage, you know? It's just a play, at least to my senses. It's got this beautiful supple leather, like saddle leather, but it's also very beautifully choreographed. There is no free-spirited sense that you get from EDT. And that leather is combined with little creamy sandalwood and oud. And that oud is obviously not skanky at all, but you can smell that oud peeking in between that leather, vanilla and patchouli, and becomes a base heavy scent. So vanilla, amberyness, leather, patchouli, oud, with that lemon which is never going to go away. As far as Habit Rouge is concerned, that lemon plays a role all through. So, but this is again, as I said before, this is a vanilla dominated version, which is what I didn't like when I reviewed it in summer, because I was thinking vanilla is misplaced here. But this is just a different take. It's a version of EDT where the soft oriental notes are coming through more, and it's more of a Shalimar flanker than an EDT flanker, within reason. Tell you with a pinch of salt, but this is how I see it. It's more of a flanker to Shalimar than to Habit Rouge EDT. And that patchouli is in the middle stages when it steals the show. It becomes completely different smell. It's a scent on itself. You know, as I said, it reminds me of Molinard's Vanille Patchouli, which is incredible. You know, I have to review this fragrance. Look at the usage. This fragrance is incredible for autumn. I don't know why. There's so many incredible fragrances. They're still there, which I have to review. I don't know why, but it's just the hours, you know. I'm doing huge amounts of reviews nowadays, but the hours, that's what dictates my number of reviews that I do. Anyways, coming back. So upsides and downsides. See, the number one upside is if you like oriental fragrances, if you like vanilla, oud, leather, heavy notes, and you want to smell something which is a bit different than the barbershop-y carnation, floral sort of EDT story. There's no barbershop here, very little barbershop here. Then you would really, really like it. It's an oriental take on a legend. It's nicely made. So the second upside is it's a base heavy fragrance. So all the heavy notes which go well in winter is what you will get here. Okay, so those are the two upsides that I can think of. The third upside is it's a creative fragrance. It starts with bright, lemony, sort of aldehydic, even floral notes with vanilla. Then it brings in patchouli. Then it brings in leather, sandalwood, oud. So that transformation, the journey, the complexity is very interesting. But it's not something that you will fall naturally for, at least from my experience. I didn't go head over heels over the EDP as I did with the EDT. If you come from the EDT side, if you've never smelled the EDT, you might really like it. As I said, it smells more like a flanker to Shalimar than to the EDT. That's my thoughts anyways. So those are three upsides. You know, there's transformation, the interestingness about this fragrance is pretty high. Not downsides. Number one downside. that waxy patchouli or vanilla really does my head in sometimes, because it's so thick and so waxy, it's nauseating. And it steals the show from a very nice masculine barbershoppy, warm, leathery scent, EDT, to something which becomes a very waxy, sort of patchouli forward scent. And it becomes something else. As I said, it reminds me of a Molinard. And that was a downside for me, because it just stole the show. And it always does that. You know, the waxy patchouli really hijacks the show. So it becomes a patchouli scent for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4. So that's one downside the fragrance has. The other thing is the fragrance, in my opinion, is not suitable for any other weather than autumn. It smells amazing in autumn, but all these notes, the heavy notes, kind of don't come out as well in summer, spring, or winter. To my nose, you might have a different experience. But this is another downside to me. It's the variability is quite low in this fragrance. In spite of all these heavy notes, the play, the interaction between the layers, the top, middle, and the base doesn't happen so well in any other weather than autumn. That's the second downside to me. And the third downside to me is the limited sort of visibility of this fragrance. This fragrance is almost hidden. People talk about the EDT. People talk about the new releases. Hardly any talk, any review, very little review on the EDP. It's very hidden. There's no following for this fragrance. I don't know whether that's a downside or the fault of the fragrance, or the marketing, or it's just chance. I don't know. No. So 3 upsides and downsides. Value for money is brilliant. I mean, these fragrances nowadays are available for anywhere between 80 and 110. It's a complex enough, nicely made, well balanced sort of a fragrance. It's a creative fragrance. It'll give you a different sort of facet to Habit Rouge, especially the patchouli. The patchouli is nice, but it has a tendency to hijack the fragrance. So value for money, I would say, is medium to high. It's a good, well-made fragrance which doesn't get a lot of talk. So you wear this fragrance, you will have that X factor. It's not well known, but well made. Compliment factor, medium to high, depends on who smells this. It has this magical combination of vanilla, patchouli with lemon. It is something which is masculine and also warm and welcoming. So you can look forward to a compliment, definitely. Seasons, autumn is the best season. The rest of the other seasons I'm not very sure about. Performance, brilliant performance. This has tremendous longevity, at least 8 hours of longevity. Medium projection, it's a thick scent, waxy, sillage trail scent. If you put it on your shirt, high quality materials, you will leave a trail when you move through. So performance side, I would say medium to high. Definitely longevity is fantastic. Value for money I've covered. Occasions, age groups. This is a slightly mature scent. Habit Rouge is, so 35 plus. Habit Rouge is definitely a mature scent, and it's very enjoyable, very likable fragrance. But it wouldn't, unless you have a very mature sort of taste, it wouldn't suit anyone below 35, I would have thought. They would think of this as something which comes from a different era. I've just got a little bit of sandalwood, and that's the interesting facet about this fragrance. You get different aspects, different times of the day. It's a very interesting fragrance. I enjoyed this, but not as much as the EDT. The EDT is still my darling. I think it'll always continue to be. So, I've covered all aspects, right? How many marks would I give it? I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a very good fragrance. It is also a very interesting fragrance. It does many things differently. But if you come from the EDT line, I think, like me, I think you'll always struggle to give this more marks than the EDT. Well, you can't basically, because EDT I gave 10 out of 10. But it's a very, very nice fragrance. It's a good oriental take on a very famous leather sort of, I would say, fougere. It's classed, EDT is classed as a woody oriental. I don't think it is. It's more like a sort of a leather fougere, kind of a warm scent. So, in my opinion, this is a good take on that. This is more oriental. This is a proper oriental. And it is an interesting oriental. I enjoy wearing this fragrance. So, 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed the review, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.